Hi everyone, and welcome to another Facebook Live Monday. Thank you so much for joining me here, where we're talking today about kind of an interesting topic based on a letter that I got from a listener about following your dreams. And the question today is grief stopping you from following your dreams, from chasing your dreams, from pursuing your passions? Is grief acting like a block for you in your life and your world? And the full story, the full letter, kind of the context of the letter, is on this week's podcast. But just to give you a general rundown, a listener wrote to me this week and said, I watched my dad. I wasn't actually there witnessing it, I don't believe, from the tone of the letter, but her dad died doing something that he really, really loved. So growing up, he refurbished old cars and was, making a craft out of this car, and he died in a car accident. And the relationship together was both kind of supporting each other in their mutual passions, and so she would support him in his love of cars, and he would support her in her love of music. She's a musician. And in seeing him die in such a way, literally adhered, melded inside of something that he was so passionate about, it instilled this fear in her. And she asked me a question in the email. She said, how do I know that the thing that I love so damn much won't kill me too? And it's an interesting way to phrase that question, because a lot of people are afraid to die the way that their loved ones die. I witnessed my mother dying of cancer, and so now I have a fear of dying of cancer or dying in that way. And people who have relatives that die by suicide are afraid that that is something that might also happen to them, especially because mental health and illness issues can be genetic as well, as in addition to cancer. A lot of people fear that, have a heart attack slumped over at work, I might die in the same way. So of course this association would be made for my listener, that if I saw my dad dying, if I know that my dad died doing the very thing that he loved, driving this car that he built, that he refurbed with his whole hands, that I drove to prom, that was something that was so adhered to his identity, how do I know that something that I adhere so closely to my identity won't kill me too? So just, there's a lot of validation in that this week. But in her question also, there was almost this hesitation. There was almost this fear of, if it's a possibility, if it's within the realm of possibility that the thing that I love could kill me, I don't know. There was just, she was reaching for this reassurance that the thing that she loves so much in the world, her passion project, will not also be the thing that ultimately kills her. And on the podcast, I told her, I said, I really can't, I cannot answer this question for you. Elaine, so good to see you here. Hi, Shelby. I love listening to this subject. I told my listener this week, I said, I can't answer this question for you. I cannot guarantee to you, I will not sit on the show and tell you that you will not also die doing something that you love, because I don't know your death. I can't predict your death. I logistically cannot predict how this will turn out for you. You're in your early 20s, you're creative just like I am, just like your dad was, and you're asking me to reassure you that the thing that you love, your music, your art, your passion, will not kill you too. I cannot guarantee that, because God knows, the world knows, that the music industry is more or less an industry of risk. And there are a lot of musicians that we love who have died, who have gone by the wayside, either because of drug use, from music-related activities, going on tour, crazy fans. I mean, you can die in a myriad of ways being associated in the music industry. But I think the root of this, and I always get chills coming into this, the root of this that I wanted to relay to my listener this week is a reframing of this question. Not, how do I know that the thing I love will not also kill me too? But, is the thing that you love doing most in this world worth dying for? Is this something that you would want to die doing? If you had to choose your death, if you had to orchestrate your death, is this something that you would want to die doing? And it kind of I'm really big into reframing. I listen to a lot of podcasts where about reframing energy and kind of turning questions, especially these hard questions, on their head so we can look at it from a different point of view. And in this question of how do I know I will not die in the same way my father did, through being adhered to his passion to this car that he loved so much that he got into an accident in and literally killed him. How do I know that the thing I love so much, my music, my craft, my art, my passion, where my soul resides, will not kill me too? And I think the reframe of that is this soul, is this passion, is this love, is your heart project something you would want to die doing? And for me personally, that answer is yes. I mentioned on the show this week that if I could choose my death, and one of the options was to die doing this over Facebook Live or podcasting or doing grief work or being with a client, I would want this work to kill me. I love this work so much that this is kind of a weird thing to say out loud, but I would almost be honored to die doing this because I adhere it so closely with so much of me and so much of my identity. I would be so honored to die doing this. People tritely say, he died doing what he loved. He died, doing blah, blah, blah. But there's something deeper in that, is you died representing the most whole and most sure parts of you. And please don't get me wrong, listen to the podcast for more on this week. I'm not trying to glorify death or force you to decide what you want to be doing when you died, or kind of orchestrate death in that way, or glamorize it in the way that they do in the movies and things like that. And he died in this conquest and this, rush of fire and passionate energy and this artistic, creative, adherence to your work. But at the same time, if you are afraid of doing something because you watched somebody else you love die that way, because you're afraid of personally dying that way because of that, if you're afraid of doing something that you love because it might kill you, you may as well already be dead. And this is not, you may as well already be in the ground, you may as well already be, no longer on this earth or cremated, but energetically, the energy that you're putting out into the world of being alive, of chasing dreams, passions, finding yourself, especially building something with your life, creating what you're here to create. If you're afraid of chasing something that you love, your heart's work, your passion, because it might kill you one day, like it killed your dad, like it killed your mom, like it killed your grandfather, like it killed your coworker, then you may as well already be dead, energetically. Then you stop yourself, you let grief kind of build a block, build a wall in front of you, and there's this layer of film where you can no longer engage with the world on this deep level because you're afraid it might kill you, because you're afraid it might stop you, because you're afraid that one day it will end. And so there's a resistance to a very natural truth here that, yes, of course, one day this will end. So I love this week just turning this question on its head and instead saying, I'm so afraid of doing this thing I love because I saw my dad die doing what he loved. Turn that question. Is this something that you would want to die doing? Because none of us can guarantee how we die. We don't get the luxury, the gift of orchestrating our deaths. We can try as best we can. We can set up wills and measures to protect ourselves and, carry mace with us when we go walking late at night, and we can put airbags in our cars and all kinds of things, and we can take care of our bodies, but we never know how we're going to die. So are you going to die doing something that you loved? And somehow there's less fear there. There's a claiming or a reclaiming, a reclamation of, if I am going to die, or since I am going to die, I'm choosing to die doing something that is totally filling me up, like almost on an explosive level. I am dying my most whole self without this wall of resistance to fear of dying doing what I love and having that degree of separation from the world. Darwin says, interesting topic, I can completely relate to this. I can relate to this subject as well. And this was just such a fascinating letter and such a fascinating question to me this week. I've never yet in the world of grief had somebody write me and say, I'm afraid of dying in the same way my loved one did. And it wasn't like circumstantial necessarily, car accident, heart attack, cancer, etc. It was, I saw him chasing the dream that he loved, and he died, literally adhered to it. What if that happens to me too? And what if that happens to you? Yeah, you have to face that reality. Even as a young 20-something creative, my dear listener, even as a young 20-something creative. But turn it on its head. Start asking a different question. When you die, is what you're doing, is what you love doing right now something worth dying for? And that can kind of help crack open these little blocks that grief can put in front of us of, well, I'm afraid to die, so I'm not even going to chase that because it's going to end one day. Or I'm afraid to die, so I'm not even going to pursue that because I don't have a lot of time left. Or I'm afraid to die and I'm afraid to do what I love because I saw somebody else die that way. It puts you at this arm's length from the rest of the world and from yourself. You disengage, you break a heart cord, and you're not connected to this thing that you love, to this passion, to this wholeness that you carry around with you. So yeah, just a rephrasing of that question this week. I'm really just repeating a lot because I want to drive it home. And I've never heard it phrased this way too. So if you're struggling with your creativity after loss, if you're struggling with finding purpose, finding passion, finding a direction after loss, if you're struggling with, I saw somebody I love go this way, and I don't want to go that way too, tilt it. Come around just a little bit. It's not 180 degrees, but it's maybe 45 degrees, maybe even 20 degrees. I'm afraid of dying this way. Is this something you would want to die doing? So kind of a quick catch there. We'll catch you before you sink all the way to this place of deciding not to do what you love anymore. Because honestly, grief growers, the dream that I have for all of you, the dream that I have for the world, is for everybody to find what they love doing and to just keep doing it till they die. I feel like that's a whole life, and everything that comes with it, the joy, the pain, the agony, the mistrust, the loss, the nostalgia, the angst of creating something that doesn't actually exist yet, the joy of seeing it actually come into the world, and the pain of seeing it leave, or the pain of seeing it being taken over by something else. Very much gardening metaphors here, blooming, rising, planting seeds, things dying off in the winter. My dream for all of you is that you find something that you love doing and you get to pursue it until the day that you die. And if it kills you, that's what kills you. It is. And we cannot let fear of dying, doing what we love, stop us from doing the thing that we love. Because if we do, energetically, creatively, heart spacely, we are already dead. And that's no way to serve ourselves, to serve our fellow people, to serve our families, to serve our children, to serve our co-workers, our bosses. That's not a place that we want to be in service from. Is this, I'm afraid of dying this way. Is this something I would want to die doing? Shelley says, such a good concept to turn it like that. My husband was so happy in the job that killed him. Yes, and I'm getting chills right now. Wow, and this is such a helpful reframe too for loved ones who have died doing the things that they loved, for loved ones who have died at work, like Shelley's husband did, or died, like my listener's father did, in the car that he rehabbed, fixed up, totally beautified himself. He died literally adhered to that passion. I mean, dying playing the piano, dying playing a sport, dying on vacation with your family because you're a big traveler. It's such a great reframe. Was this something that they would say was worth dying for? And for your own life, is this something that you would want to die doing? Is this thing that you love something you'd want to die doing? Yeah. I'm so glad for all the momentum and all the conversation we've had today. This is really cool to come on and see. And this is just an intuitive hit for me. This is not really, I wasn't really giving a set of tools this week. I'm not really giving, like a meditation or anything like that, but just a reframe, some perspective, repeated over and over and over again. Is what you're doing right now something that you would want to die doing? If you're afraid of dying doing what you love to do, then you are already dead. And yeah, my dream for all of you is to find something that you love doing so much that one day you can just look around and be like, I'd be okay if I died doing this. I wouldn't be happy about it. I don't want to die. Most of us aren't ready to die. We've got so much to do, so much to accomplish, so much more heart expanding that we want to do and connecting with the other people in our lives and our worlds. But at the end of the day, is this something I'd want to die doing? And the answer is yes. Yeah. I hope that for you. I wish that for you. I hope that for your loved ones as well, that they find the things that light them up. And yeah, just an interesting listener question. I so encourage all of you to go onto the podcast this week and listen to the full letter, the full context, because it's a 2-part question. This Facebook Live is just answering the second part of it today. And then, of course, there's a beautiful interview with Debbie Augenthaler, who talks about layered losses this week, and kind of you lose the one big thing, but then there's all the sub things under it that you never expect to lose. So like she lost her husband, and then with that you lose the dream of having children, the house you shared together, the way you operate in the workplace, your friend circle, all these things that come not necessarily underneath in terms of priority, but alongside, along with. So a really cool interview this week, and the link to that is in the description for today's Facebook Live. As always, you can find us and find me a lot in the Grief Growers Garden, my private Facebook group. Just request to join, and all you have to do is answer 3 questions to be allowed into the group. And then if you'd like to receive emails, I do send some love notes every single week when the podcast comes out with insights that I don't really share anywhere else, as well as articles and videos, things that are my favorite things in the world of grief that I'm watching. So if you're looking for more resources, a great place to sign up, shelbyforsythia.com, and just scroll all the way down to the bottom. This was such a joy to be here with you today. I see you. I'm proud of you and the work that you're doing in the world. And I love you. And I love your work. I love the work that you're doing in the world. I'll see you next week, my grief growers.